Itukwile, Amash, Ukmisiaya, Akasta, Hakanaktin Squish, Onumps Chalap, Ukmisiaya. We now recognize that it was wrong to separate children from rich and vibrant cultures and traditions, that it created a void in many lives and communities, and we apologize for having done this. We now recognize in separating children from their families, we undermine the ability of many to adequately parent their own children and sow the seeds for generations to follow. We apologize for having done this. We now recognize that far too often these institutions gave rise to abuse or neglect and were inadequately controlled. And we apologize for failing to protect you. Not only did you suffer these abuses as children, but as you became parents, you were powerless to protect your own children from the suffering from the same experiences, and for this we are sorry. The burden of this experience has been on your shoulders for far too long. The burden is probably ours as a government, as a country. This is a section from the apology from the Prime Minister. I used this in my affidavit when we went before the courts. If they were sincere about this apology, we wouldn't have to be going to court to seek redress for the day scholars who are left out of the process altogether.
We're going to push harder. More doors are going to be opened, and we're going to look at, continue to seek redress for our people. And it's a human rights issue. It's a human rights issue that impacts not only the Sechelt and the Kamloops, it impacts every First Nation from coast to coast in this country.
We've teamed with Kamloops to actually champion this cause because at every community meeting we go to, our community want to know what's happening to the day scholars who are left out of the process, and we gave them our word that we would try to see this right to the end to seek that justice for the day scholars.
You're not only doing it on behalf of your citizens and your nations and membership, but all of the First Nations people that have endured that suffering. They did attend, and it really is a cultural genocide. Yeah. And the Crown has an obligation to respond and respect it and to deal with that issue. You know, it's outstanding. If the political strategy doesn't work, then you also have to look at the legal strategy, to bring about justice and to deal with this issue. So I commend you for your leadership on that, and as well Chief Shane Goffredson on the Day Scholar class action suit.
It may take a while, but we're moving in the right direction, and hopefully one day we can stand up and say our people are totally healed. Now we're seeking redress through the courts for the day scholars. We've given that commitment, and we are going to go right to the end, and we seek that justice for our day scholars. We even started a webpage for people to get involved, and it's called justicefordayscholars.com, and it'll be active before we leave Ottawa and head our way back home. Every nation that had a school in their community, and they had day scholars, they have an opportunity to opt in. We do have an opt-in model. That's why our information is getting out there more and more. While we're here in Ottawa, we're going to start meeting with some government leaders to get that message to them. I was appalled when I asked our lawyers to read out a section of the apology from the Prime Minister, and the lawyer stood up. That's not what the Prime Minister meant. Well, what did he mean? Reconciliation has to be more than just denial. It has to be more than just words. Those actions have to become alive. That's one of the things that has to happen, because these cycles of abuse that happen from the residential schools has gone on for far too long, and we need to put an end to it so that our children will never have to suffer again. So on June the 1st, along with Kamloops, I was honored and privileged to be able to present our message to the TRC in Ottawa, and it was the presentation on the Day Scholars class action. And after the presentation, there was a lot of interest from First Nations across Canada, and they wanted more information. And while we're in Ottawa, 2 days after we presented, we got news from our lawyers that our class action was certified. That was awesome news. And the certification deals with 3 classes. It's the survivor class, which are the day scholars. So any day scholar who attended a registered residential school across Canada is in the class action, unless they want to opt out, and they have the time period to opt out between now and October 30th, 2015. And then we have the descendant class, which is the children of the day scholars. Every child of a day scholar across Canada who attended a registered residential school is in the class action, and they have a chance to opt out if they want. The same time period, October 30th, 2015. And then there's the band class for loss of language, loss of culture. And there's now in the court order that was approved yesterday, June the 18th, is that there's 140 schools that are attached to the certification. So any band who had a residential school in their community or near it, and they had day scholars attend it, all of those bands have an opportunity to opt into the class action. And they have an opportunity if they want to opt out, or if they don't want to opt in, they have till January, the end of January 2016 if they want to opt in. And to me, this is such exciting news because every day scholar across Canada is now included. Every band across Canada, and there's 140 schools who can opt in for the loss of language and loss of culture. There's a number of things that we have to do now. We're working on a notice plan to get notice out to all of the day scholars, all of the descendants, and all of the bands. And then there's a litigation plan that we're looking at. But we've been told that majority of the time this never goes to trial, that we're hoping that we'll be able to negotiate a settlement with Canada, and that's all we're looking for, so that we can bring this justice to the day scholars, justice to the descendants, and justice to all of the bands across Canada, so that we can bring wellness to our communities.